Hi friends, I'm Favour, Dr. Favour to y'all, and today we're making science make sense. So let's dive in. Picture the hottest day you can ever remember. Now imagine data showing that when the temperature drops, suicide rates rise to crazy. Yeah, that does sound crazy. Let's unpack the study that showed an association. First, let's discuss why this matters. Climate change it's been on the news, we're talking about it a lot. It means more extreme heat and mental health crises are already climbing worldwide. But until this study, no one had truly shown like a global picture of how heat waves may be related to suicide risk. And here's what this like massive global research team did. The study at a glance is that they pulled daily suicide counts from 341 cities in 12 countries, varying from like the US to Vietnam, covering over like about 40 years of data. And for every single suicide that they pulled, they matched the day's temperature and used a really clever case crossover design, meaning that each person was basically their own control on cooler days. Then they like meta crunched all the data into this giant mega analysis. And then what did they find? So the key findings are one, an inverted J curve showing that suicide risk climbs with heat and it peaks around 27 degrees Celsius, which for those of us in the United States is 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and then it plateaus, meaning that at that peak, suicide risk is about 33% higher than on the coolest days. Also, because this was a global study, we can stratify it by location, and Northeast Asia was hit the hardest. Taiwan actually spiked to 65% higher suicide rates on the hottest days. So you might be thinking, like I am, why might the heat nudge the mind towards like a dark edge? And there are many mechanisms that can be put forward, and this is more of like a public health study, so it is mostly associations, but there are mechanisms that we can propose as to why this might be the case, that additional studies are needed to confirm. But physically, heat messes with serotonin, and that wrecks your sleep and boosts impulsivity. And so behaviorally, like in the summer, you're more likely to drink more, stay out longer, and emergency resources already get stretched thin dealing with those issues. So to talk about the strengths and limits of this study, the strengths is that this is the largest data set ever, rock solid statistics. And I think for limits is that they only had city level temperatures. So there was no temperature on the individual person. So you don't know if like someone was using an air conditioner versus not. And, suicide reporting can differ by culture. So this is not, some places might be underreported and that's not really taken into account. Now, why should you care? The big thing is that heat plans, you can't just be to hand out water. We need to implement mental health hotlines and outreach that correlate with the time of year. And also this is a call for clinicians to like flag high-risk patients, especially when heat alerts hit. Oh no! So like when heat alerts are out, we should care. We should look after the highest risk patients. So the takeaway is hotter days have higher suicide risk. Climate policy is health policy. And I do want to put a call to action, a disclaimer. If you are struggling in the US, dial 988 or your local line wherever you are. And if you are interested in public policy or you design public policy, let's build hit-ready mental health systems like now. That's the synopsis of the study. Happy to answer questions. Thanks for stopping by. Dr. Favour, turning ivory tower papers into kitchen table talk. If you have a study you want me to look at and explain simply, or you want to decode, just subscribe and or put a comment. And just remember, science is for everybody. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.